Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be taking this, a really extremely rare Japanese white GameCube, and trying to de-yellow it. Now, as you can see, just looking at it by looking at the Game Boy player, this part right here is what it's supposed to look like. This is what the console itself looks like right now. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know what caused it to change. It's not like Super Nintendo's where it's, you know, bromine that's like mutating and rotting the core of the plastic. At some point, its previous owner must have kept it exposed in the sun, but not with the player. I'm not really sure what would have happened exactly, to be honest with you. But the point is, we're going to try and fix it. Now, a little backstory on this console. So you're looking at it and you go, oh, I don't know, white GameCube, that's kind of weird. Is that a common thing? Apparently, really not. In Europe, they got a pearl white GameCube. It was part of some sports bundle. Japan got this one, the crystal white GameCube, and in North America, we didn't get shit. But the crystal white GameCube is extraordinarily rare. Supposedly, it was only 150 of them were ever produced. I know, that's fucking nuts. And it was sold with Final Fantasy, one of the Final Fantasy games, as like a big box set. Now you look online, the boxed, like if it's sealed, box ones sell for like $3,500, which is insanity. I've seen loose units like this, granted in better condition and with the box, sell for about $1,000. I bought this for 28 bucks when I was in Japan. So now, obviously, I don't have the box. There's nothing I can do about that. But I can de-yellow it and get it into better condition. I'm not intending to sell it. It's just that I want it. It's a really rare, limited console. I just wanted it in the best condition possible. Understandably so, I would think. So the controller as well is also a bit yellowed. So I'm going to tackle that as well. Now, I'm not new to this process. I've de-yellowed many consoles over the years. I've done videos on it, actually. There's two different ways to go about doing this. One is this home remedy, where you basically get a bunch of ingredients together and you prepare the mixture yourself. Now, I've done that. I did a video on it. You can look that up if you want to see it. That is the better method, but it's not the faster one. The faster method is to use this. This is a hair care cream, Salon Care Professional 40 volume maximum lift cream. This can be bought in the US, where I am, or Canada. Now, Canada, for whatever reason, it's like a third the price up there. So every time I go to Canada, I typically get a bottle of this stuff. So it's because it's just astronomically cheaper. So it's essentially a pre-made concoction. The problem is it's not nearly as good as the home remedy. You need more of it, and it takes longer. So why would I do it? Convenience. I don't want to have to really make up a whole batch of that stuff. Plus, there is a big difference here. With Super Nintendo's, it kind of makes sense because the plastic is rotting, basically, decaying over time, whereas this is clearly just surface sun damage, and this should be more than enough to take care of that. So that's pretty much my plan. Now, like I said, I've done videos on the concoction, I've done videos on this. You can go check that out if you want more information on how the actual de-yellowing process works. That said, I've even done videos on tearing down a GameCube for the purposes of cleaning it, which I intend to do with this before, of course, doing the de-yellowing. That means I'm not going to do the whole I'm not going to show you the process of taking this thing apart because the video would be like a half-hour long. Basically, I was just telling you what I'm doing. I'll show you some points on if I find something interesting, then show you the results, and we can all just see the process, basically, of trying to restore what is essentially a really rare item and try to get it back to its closest to possible full glory that we can. So just a couple of things to note. If for some reason you are attempting this, I can't imagine you are, since there's only 150 of these apparently, but if you are, a couple of things to note. You will need gloves like this. You cannot just touch this stuff. It's really bad for your hands. And despite the fact that it's for your hair, I don't know, I don't dye my hair. I just know you're not supposed to get it on your skin. And GameCubes do not use conventional screws on the bottom, so you will need a basically what's called a game bit. There's different ways to do this, but it's a special kind of screwdriver for Nintendo hardware. And then once you do that, presuming you don't have the Game Boy player on, or you do, you have to remove the Game Boy player, so you unscrew these things, and then you take off the Game Boy player, and underneath you'll get to the console, which I can already tell is a little dirty, so I want to clean it up first, as mentioned before. But you would remove these, and then you are left with these 4 screw points, and you remove those screws and begin the process. So, like I said, I'm not going to show you the whole teardown, so I'll just jump to basically the console being disassembled. And there you have it. Man, I forgot how brutally hard it is to take apart a GameCube. I shouldn't say hard, tedious. It is tedious to take apart a GameCube. It takes about 45 minutes in my case, and I know what I'm doing, so that tells you something. So yeah, now that it's apart, I'm gonna let it's cleaned. I cleaned all the plastic. Obviously, I didn't clean the electronics. You don't do that. I will clean them with not soap and water, obviously, but like compressed air and stuff. I'll do that off camera. But as soon as I've done that, I'm going to let, of course, these things dry. And when these are totally dry, then I will begin the process of putting on the solution stuff, and we will see how it goes. Alright, I have all the white plastic out here ready to go, including the little parts like this thing, controller as well. So now it's time to put on the hair care, whatever the hell you want to call it, stuff. So again, I guess I'm not really sure why I'm even showing you this, but what the hell, let's do it. So basically, I have it on some plastic wrap here, and then I'm going to take all of this, including the plastic wrap, and just kind of sit it near a window in the sun, and just let it sit there all damn day. And then after the end of the day, I will clean it all up, get all the gunk off, and we'll take a look at the results. But be warned, if you've seen the other videos, usually you have to do this like 5, 6, 7 times. Like, it takes a long time. Like, this process was not a one-day thing. Like, this will take me a week minimum. So yeah, let's just get on with the first phase here. So basically, I'm just going to take some of this goop and just kind of, you know, sloppily put it all over these things, and just kind of, there's no real like amazing tactic to this. Just make sure you're wearing rubber gloves is really all I have to say. So yeah, obviously I'm going to proceed to do that to all the remaining parts. So it's been one day. I've already done the one session of retro writing, and there are results. It's definitely whiter. It has definitely made massive improvements. The parts that are still the worst is this particular back piece was not very good. It was very yellowed. It still is, you know, yellowed, but it's, I mean, I don't know, maybe like cut in half, like 50%. This particular side part right here was pretty bad originally. Now it's still yellowed, but it's definitely better than it was. The front of the console is definitely looking better. The bottom here, this part was bad. It's still yellowed, but to give you a sense of like what it should look like, the Game Boy player was actually pretty white to begin with. Now, it's not perfect by any means. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up, but if you guys remember from that first shot, this bottom part was pretty nice, and this part was pretty yellowed. Now, it's still darker. It still needs more work. I'll have to do more coats, but I think you get a sense that, yeah, it's definitely getting better. So I've completed the second session of this. I am going to proceed to a third one. I just wanted to give you guys an update. I'm going to use this as an example right here, because, again, this is the Game Boy player. Now, the Game Boy player wasn't really very yellowed. It's pretty solid white. That said, I still put it through the process twice, and I don't think it really needs any additional de-yellowing. Again, it wasn't really that bad to begin with, but it is a little bit nicer than it was. So what I'm going to actually do is declare the Game Boy player done. I'm actually going to put this back together in a little bit. The other part I'm going to declare done is the front plate, which had some yellowing on it that's now completely gone. So these three pieces are completely set. That said, I'm going to continue with the controller, even though I think the controller is pretty much there. The console itself is definitely looking better. Like, this was, without a doubt, the worst piece. And it still has yellowing, like it's still there, but it's definitely a massive improvement over where it was. To give you a sense of it, we can compare it to, again, the front of that Game Boy player is what it's supposed to look like, and the back is what it's currently looking like. It is darker, you can tell, hopefully, on the camera, but it's definitely much, much better. Now, if we were to compare it to, say, the actual console here, now, granted, they don't quite fit together correctly, but you get a sense looking between these two pieces of plastic. This is, again, what it's supposed to look like. This is what it currently looks like, and hopefully you remember from earlier what it did look like. And I'll tell you, just using my eyes, this is still a little yellowed, but it is so much better. It's actually getting a lot harder to tell the difference, which is exactly what you want. Third round is complete. We will be going for a fourth round, but first I want to show you some comparisons, and part of it I think is actually done. I'm actually very satisfied with the way the controller turned out. At this point, I don't think it actually needs any more. Again, my baseline for this is the Game Boy player, which is totally done, reassembled, of course. You compare it to that, and let me get you a nice shot there if I can. I mean, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but it's essentially identical, if not identical, at this point. This is pretty good, and that applies to both pieces. I've obviously checked it already, but yeah, I think the controller is good to go. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and then I'll put it back together. But the rest of the console, some of these smaller pieces here are probably good to go, but since I'm still doing the console, I figure I'll leave those in there. The pieces that were the worst, this one is still the worst, and this one still definitely needs work. But, you know, again, let's compare. You can kind of tell, looking at that, maybe you get a sense of it. This one's definitely a darker, more yellowed shade. That was the worst piece. But some of them, like this one, was really bad right there. Now, it's pretty much identical. It is a little darker, still a little off, so I'm going to keep working on it. Some of these other pieces, though, like that's definitely getting there. Very impressed so far with this. In fact, we can kind of, not quite, but kind of fit this on there and get a sense of it. You compare those two sides. Again, a little darker, but not bad at all. So I'm actually very, very happy with that. Same with this one. This was the front piece, again, on the console. And if we were to connect those, you can see that. Pretty much there. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to do a fourth round. I'll probably keep going beyond that. The controller is now successfully reassembled. I think it's looking pretty good. I mean, there's little paint damage on here that was there to begin with, but at least the original color is more restored, which is obviously awesome. Again, if you compare it to the Game Boy player, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell with the camera, of course, but trust me when I say it's much better than it was, which is nice. I don't know how... I wouldn't call it perfect. That's obviously an extreme term, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with how well the controller turned out. Now, of course, we're going to continue on the console. Round 4 is completed, and the results are pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and say this piece right here is perfect. Like, this part now is finally good to go. Comparing it to the Game Boy player, pretty much indistinguishable, which is fantastic. So we got another piece done. When you compare it, the Game Boy player already did this, of course, but when you compare it to this piece and this piece, I'm going to say they're pretty much perfect. They're not 100% there. I would call it like 98%, but I honestly don't think another round is actually going to do anything else. And so I'm going to actually just go ahead and declare both of these parts done. But the back piece here still has some work to do. There's definitely like a bright yellow down here. I'm not really sure why this part in particular is the worst, but whatever. It's a small piece, so it's easy to clean. I'm going to go ahead and do a 5th round on this, and possibly even a 6th. I hope not, but it's possible. So yeah, this is the Iron Man for sure. So as you can see, I've been busy. Yeah, so I went one more round on this, and it is improved, but it's minuscule, to be honest with you. It is looking better, but yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better than this, so I am declaring it done. Obviously, that's why I put everything else back together already. And putting this piece in is super easy. I'll just go ahead and do it right now. But this part of the console... God, I had forgotten how hard it is to put GameCubes back together. In this case, this is a simple step. It'll make it look like I'm complaining about nothing. You basically just sit this in here like that, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. But this part of the console, not that bad. That's not that hard to put together. It's a little complicated, but it's okay. The part that sucks, and I had totally forgotten how brutally awful this really was, is this part, actually. When you completely disassemble it, this part of the lid in particular, the mechanism that makes it eject properly, this is a pain in the ass. I just couldn't remember really how to do it. So I Googled it, and I know I mentioned that I had my own video, like my own tutorial on this, but I was like, I don't want to do that. I'd just rather get the quick answer on Google, right? Well, anyway, Google suggests my video as the solution to that, which is funny. So I ended up, yeah, I actually sat there and watched myself teach myself how to do this, because I had completely forgotten. So yay, Google, thanks for the help there. But anyway, so now that we're past all that, it's time to put the console, finish off what's left of it, which is really easy. Just take the little lid here, and we're going to slide that on and turn it over. And of course there's the 4 primary screw points and the 4 screws, so I'm just going to go ahead and put those into place. Back together, although I'm also including the Game Boy player in that, really just for the visual. It's definitely better, not perfect, but I can do one more thing to kind of improve it a little bit. For that, I will take the Game Boy player off before we get to final glory shots of this thing. So for the moment, put that off to the side. We're going to take the GameCube here, and we're going to use some Pledge. This is Orange Pledge. There's different kinds. This is called Pronto in certain countries. It's basically just a surface cleaning solution. You just kind of apply it like that, and then you take a paper towel and you just kind of wipe it around the plastic to kind of bring out a nice shiny coat to the whole thing. So I'm going to do that on the top, the sides, the bottom, the back, front, etc. I'll probably do it on the Game Boy player, maybe even the controller, and then we'll let it dry for a little bit and we'll take a look at it. And there we have it, it's dried. Now obviously because it's a white console, the shining part isn't going to do a whole lot, but yeah, it's definitely better than it was, as I'm sure you noticed. Again, I don't know how well this camera is going to pick it up in particular, but I also took some still photos here. Of course, this first one is what the console looked like when I first got it, on the front and on the back. couple of different angles there. And now, flash forward, and here's what it looks like. A lot of difference has been made. Again, absolutely, it's not perfect. I agree with you. It's not perfect, but a lot of progress has been made, and that's really a great thing. So, you know, you can really tell where the difference is, especially if you have it in front of you, obviously, but through the camera anyway. I don't know how this is going to work, but you look at it, you can see this controller port in particular, or the memory card slot, I'm sorry, is very yellowed. This one's kind of yellowed, but everything else around it has been de-yellowed, and they look substantially better. Now, I would have de-yellowed these, but I can't remove them, otherwise I totally would have done that. But it does give you a sense of how bad the damage was versus what it's like now. And yeah, I'm glad I was able to restore it. First of all, get this and restore it, considering what it is, as well as the controller, which has had some serious improvements. And the Game Boy player is just a little bit nicer than it was before. But this has inspired me a bit. You know, I was digging through my other GameCubes to see if they had any yellowing. Now, obviously, I don't have any other white ones, but I didn't realize this front panel thing could yellow so badly. So I looked through, and I actually found that I do have some. I have a purple GameCube here that's got yellowing really bad on the front plate. I have another purple GameCube. This one's actually European. A buddy of mine in the UK named Raymond gave me this. This is extremely yellowed on the front plate. And I have a black one that a fan named Jihad78 gave me. Kudos to you, dude, if you're still watching, by the way. The front plate on this is also badly yellowed. So the getting to those front ports is very easy. So I think I'm actually going to do that on all three of those. I'm not going to bother showing you it. I mean, I'm just letting you know. This has been fun and productive, and I hope this inspires you potentially to restore some of your consoles. And I hope you guys enjoyed just this in general, like kind of the journey of restoring, to the best of my ability anyway, a really rare, unique piece of gaming history, this oddball variant of the GameCube. And at some point, man, I'll do a video on this thing specifically about its history and all that fun stuff in rare variants at some point if you guys want to see that. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.